We're off air. Oh, now we're on air. We're live. Wow, this is an exciting moment for all of us on this wonderful Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? All right.
No,
well,
it's not.
Thursday.
Oh, is it Thursday? Oh man.
It is.
Oh, I'm out of it. Well, okay. So everybody out there in the world of the internet, welcome to this adventure chat. It's probably going to be a little unruly and silly, but also hoping that you'll grab a few morsels of knowledge about Iceland or Iceland travel. It's funny because I selected Alex as my main video, and I just see his like smiling face on my screen right now. Okay, all right. I switched. Yeah. So I switched away from that. Thank goodness. Anyway, so welcome to everybody watching. If you have any comments or questions or like curiosities, post them in the chat. And I also wanted to mention the reason why we're doing this adventure chat, the special one this week on Google Hangouts, is because we have a bunch of people and a bunch of people that went on the Iceland trip that we just got back from. And so I thought it would be kind of cool for everybody to give their insight and experiences to the rest of the Geek Adventures community. So with that, I'll let everybody, we'll go around and introduce ourselves. So I guess starting with Alex, because you're on the left of my screen.
All right. Hi, I'm Alex. I am one of the guys who thought of this particular trip, and I'm from Manchester. I run an agency, do online marketing, WordPress, all that stuff. It's called Firecask. And yeah, that's about it from me, yeah.
Nice. And what are you drinking? What are you sipping on?
Right now, water. I'm good.
Okay.
What?
No, I'm going to be drinking beer in about an hour. Hey, well, I'm more interested in what Maureen's got.
Oh, just water, though.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing beer tasting in about an hour, so I'm just kind of cleansing the palate.
Preparing.
Awesome. All right, Rarst, you're up.
Hi, I'm Andrei Savchenko. It's online usually Rarst. I'm from Kiev, Ukraine, and I'm WordPress contractor. So I'm from WordPress side. Was from WordPress side of the trip, and I hadn't really been to a recreational trip in a long time, so I really needed one. And I was happy about Geek Adventures coming to Europe, or well, close to Europe, close enough for me.
Awesome. And Maureen, I guess you're next on my screen. So.
All right. Maureen Kelly. Technically, I guess I'm in Fort Worth right now, Fort Worth, Texas. And this is one of my big trips that I've been working on, doing epic adventures. And so this kind of popped up, and I was like, hell yes, I'm going. It's been my dream to go to Iceland, so let's do this.
Awesome. Cool. And then Raquel. I don't know how I almost just forgot your name. That was weird.
I forget. I call Cody my brother's names all the time, so I forgive you. I'm Raquel, and I'm a brand evangelist, and I know Mendel, and Mendel's like, hey, we're going to Iceland. And I'm like, okay, let's go to Iceland. So I was an early sign-on. And
that's true. And a big cheerleader for the trip, too.
It's true. It's true. I'm also battling allergies, if you could tell. Right now it's allergy season in Phoenix. And it won't go away until it hits like 110. So it's like you don't want it to be that hot, but at the same time I want these allergies to go away.
Yeah. All that sand in Arizona really makes the allergies crazy.
It's all the blossoms from the desert flowers. Stop it.
And all those imported trees.
So cool. Thanks for introing. And there were like 20 people on the trip, but not all of those people could carve out some time in the middle of the day. So we'll go for like 20 minutes to 25 minutes or so, and kind of talk about some of the stuff that we did and learned. the first thing I've got one already, and that is if you're going to Iceland and you want to tour around, whether it's like 24 hours or whether it's a week, like everybody says to get the bus when you leave the airport. I would say get a car, like rent a car and just go drive, because the roads in Iceland are not tricky at all. You drive on the same, well, except for Alex maybe, who drives on the wrong side of the road, but the rest of us, the rest of like the civilized world drives on the correct side of the road like they do in America. And so if you're used to doing that, then get a car, rent it ahead of time, because if you rent it that day, you'll end up paying like twice the amount, and then and go drive, because there's a huge highway that goes around the entirety of Iceland, and it's super simple to get around, and you don't need an international driver's license. All you need is your legal driver's license from your country and your passport, and you're good to go. So that's one thing that I learned while I was in Iceland, which I think, yeah,
Can I give
surprised
some
me.
tips on the bus, because it was a process, and
totally.
I didn't know how to drive a car, so that wasn't.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, everyone recommends like the one bus company that has shuttles from the airport, and they kind of have a very confusing process. You can book online and you get like a voucher, and voucher says there are buses over there, but you actually need to go to their counter, not to the buses. And at the counter, they exchange your voucher for like colored thingy, and color depends on which hotel you go to if you ordered hotel drop-off. So, and then you get on the first bus and you go to the bus station, and then there is a screen that says that you stay on the bus, but you actually don't. So you need to get off the bus regardless of the color of your ticket, because it says like, oh, if your ticket is yellow, you stay on this bus. No, you don't. That's a lie.
So
And eventually the second bus, smaller bus, gets you to your hotel. Hopefully correct hotel, because Robbie almost went to the wrong Hilton. I had to save him.
So this is to get from the airport to a hotel in Reykjavik.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're saying go to the counter first before you.
Yeah, you need to go to the counter. It
Even if
doesn't
you don't
say
know.
that anywhere, but you need to.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, maybe we should send an email to the fly. It's called Flybus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who took Flybus when you got there?
I did. Yeah.
Me and Robbie.
Yeah. And I just
Oh.
showed up. I didn't buy anything in advance. I read like all the FAQ about what you're supposed to do. There's like guaranteed seats. I was like, I'll just show up and figure it out. That was my whole thing for the trip, to show up and figure it out. And it worked
Oh yeah,
well.
the one other thing about the Flybus is if you buy tickets and then you don't use your return ticket, you can have it refunded. But they were very specific. You have to have your receipt, even if you have your ticket. You have to have your receipt too. If you have your receipt, then you can get a refund. Oh, Robbie joined us. What up, Robbie?
How's it going?
All right.
Awesome. Hey, what up, man? Hey, Robbie, introduce yourself really quick.
Hey, my name's Robbie. I am one of the co-founders of Beaver Builder in my day job, but I was on the Iceland trip with these guys, and yeah, good to see y'all.
Wicked. Good to see you. It's like a mini reunion.
I know. I was hoping you were still on a trip, Robbie.
I am. I'm in Joshua Tree right now. I had to run around and find a shirt. I'm like trying to pack out of my spot right now. I was a little disoriented, but yes. Sorry for being a little tardy.
Classic Robbie, running around looking for a shirt, trying to get connected to the internet.
Not the worst problem to have.
Yeah, so we're talking about tips, like tips for getting around Iceland, or things that you should know when you're there and stuff like that. And so we were just talking about the Flybus, and I suggested that you rent a car because driving there is super easy, right? As you know, because you and Rars were in the car. Actually, I think Robbie, you and I like logged, I don't know, 400 miles when we were in the country. But so yeah. Who else has a piece of sagely advice or just something cool that you did that was out of the ordinary that somebody might not think to do? Hint, hint, Maureen, hint.
I know. So I'm thinking, well, Maureen's got this.
So after the trip, so I booked a car way in advance, like about a month in advance, and I chose four-wheel drive because I knew that I wanted to get at least on some ice. I didn't know what conditions were going to be like, but everything says you can't go on the F roads, which are, I guess they're 4x4 roads, unless you have a 4x4. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck and you have to get pulled out. We'll talk about their search and rescue thing later. I did not use the search and rescue thing, but I had it on dial just to make sure. But I booked a 4x4, and the 4x4 had studded tires, which made a huge difference because I ended up driving on icy roads when I was driving up to the north side. When I finished the trip, dropped off at the airport, picked up my rental car, I did the big Snaefellsnes Peninsula trip, went all the way around there, drove all the way up north, and once I started hitting those northern fjords, it was like whiteout, just snow, ice. I was like, where the hell did this come from?
Which is crazy because down south there was like no snow and ice. It was like all thawing, right? And then, but did you experience the weirdness where like you're driving up? So this is west, like northwest, and you're going up to the Snaefellsnes Peninsula, and like as you're going up there, there's nothing. It's like Utah.
Nothing.
Like, or not Utah, North Dakota, right? Like you're driving and you're like, wait a minute, what? There's nothing here. Like what?
Yeah, I started getting some video of the different landscapes because it would go from like just nothing but the crazy raw lava to flat to snowy mountainsides to frozen river, and then all of a sudden lava again. So it's really weird how you just go up and over these little mountains and it changes so drastically. But car worked out well. I drove 1,500 miles all the way up to Ayakuri. I think that's the name. I was about 2 hours left of sunlight, and I was about 2.5 hours away from town. But it was a really good experience, and just kind of driving through snow, the ice. The roads are super well maintained, and they're really kind of rough roads. They're very smooth roads, but they're not like smooth texturally. They've got a lot of really rocky rocks. So even if there is ice on the road, it was super easy to get around. I didn't skid once, which was nice. But yeah, otherwise it went really well.
That's awesome.
So I spent about like 4 days. Got the car, drove back 4 days, 1,500 miles. Pretty badass. But yeah, otherwise it really went.
That's awesome.
Spent about like 4 days. Got the car, drove back 4 days, 1,500 miles. Pretty badass.
How is that happening?
I don't know. Yay, network. Yay, networks. I'll just listen to myself for a bit.
Yeah, I think I actually started playing the video as I'm trying to look at comments to see who's like leaving comments on the live video, and so I think I played back. It was awkward. I heard myself say something I said like 10 minutes ago. Felt like I was in an episode of Star Trek, like just getting weird people. Yeah, so Alex, one thing to mention. So, like, if you're wondering if you can use a cell phone in Iceland, I think it's important to mention that you can use a cell phone pretty much anywhere, even if you're in like a super remote place in Iceland. It works, and you don't think it's going to work because you're like, I've been traveling for I don't know, 2 hours and I haven't seen a single person, and there's no way that cell phone coverage is out here. But like most places, is pretty good. Would you all
everywhere? Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Maureen?
Oh, I forgot. So there was one thing I forgot that I wanted to mention about the roads, about the road conditions. Their monitoring of road conditions is phenomenal. There's a website called road.is where you can look at all the different regional maps. Every single like major road or F road is monitored all the time. So you can see like up to like 10 minutes. It's like 10 minutes of road conditions. They tell you what the temperature is, what the wind direction is, if there's sleet on the roads, if there's ice, how many cars are going each direction in the last 10 minutes. So they really take care of their roads, and you really have a good idea of where you're going, if you're going to be able to get there. It's actually pretty awesome.
Wow, that's really cool. And so, so I guess the way I would relate roads in Iceland to people, because like the information online is a little confusing, but I think there's one major road that goes around, the ring road, and that's like a highway, and it's paved and it's awesome. And then there are other roads that kind of go off of that paved road. Some of them are paved, but a lot of them are like country roads that you'd find in the US or the UK. And so they're rocky. And then there are some country roads that are basically you need an all-terrain vehicle to get through them, and they have rivers and things like that going through them, which we experienced a little bit of, right? But I think it's important to note that getting around to see a lot of the sites that everybody kind of hears of in Iceland, a lot of those sites you can get to with just a regular car, like a regular economy 4-door, 2-door, whatever car. Is that pretty accurate? Alex, you've been to Iceland a bunch. How like what's some of your like seasoned advice on Iceland?
Well, firstly, you guys have all seen more of Iceland than I have, and I think I've been 7 times. Right? So I did the touristy shit. I haven't been in a car when you guys were saying hire a car. It's like, why didn't I hire a? I've never hired a car there, and I've never done what you guys have done. Maybe next time. You always leave something to go back for, don't you? But yeah, I've been at all times of the year, because they have, the solstice in July, and then you've got this darkness for 6 weeks in the middle of December. I haven't been then. I wouldn't have liked to have done that. But I've been there for solstice. I went for a festival actually called the Secret Solstice Festival. I think Guns N' Roses are playing this year. And generally the headline sponsors come out in the midnight sun. It's really cool. So I've been then. Make sure you get a hotel with blackout blinds. And I've been in November. That's kind of nice, especially to see the aurora, which you can kind of see when we went as well. So it can be anything from October all the way to April. And yeah, but March and September are good. And there's whale watching as well, but I have no appeal to stand on a boat for 6 hours to see a whale pass by for 2 seconds. So I can tick that box. Nah.
Well, so the aurora thing is interesting. When we were there, we saw the aurora, and one of our guides said the lights are over there, and we were like, "What lights are you talking about?" And he's like, the lights in the sky. And so we started looking in the sky, and we saw this really faint aurora. And he gave a really great tip that, I don't know that I would have ever thought to do this, but he said, take out your camera. And if you have a digital camera or an SLR or something like that, the way that it captures light, it captures more bands of light than your eye can see. And so we were able to see more of the aurora through a camera during a low activity time than we would have been able to see with our naked eye. So that was a pretty good tip. Although I was told by some Icelanders that the pictures I got of it were fake, kind of, because you couldn't see it with a naked eye. But
yes, there was nothing to see like with your eyes.
Yeah, I feel like the magic was ruined in a way. So like all of those, I mean, I've seen them before, and I have seen them strong once, and that was fantastic, and it was a great 45 seconds, but that's kind of all you get in reality. But when we were watching it, and then when you see it, all I was thinking was, I Google image Northern Lights. That's all bullshit. They're all seeing nothing, but those pictures look amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. What about you, Robbie? Like, what do you have to say about Iceland?
I'm really glad, and I really appreciate you renting the car. I don't often rent cars when I travel. But I think that was really. So one of my friends told me before I went out that you should really try to get out of Reykjavik. Like, it's a nice little town. It's got nice restaurants and things to do, but all of the things to see are outside of town, and they're far enough outside you can't really get there. You can't really walk or bike. You need to have a vehicle. So I think, yeah, going back, or like my one piece of advice for anyone going is to like bite the bullet and get the car, or make sure you hire a tour bus or some way to get yourself out of the city. Like, everything you want to see for the most part is outside. Minus there was the phallological, so you say it, museum that sounded kind of interesting, and then there was the big kind of looming church on the hill.
Again,
yeah,
I've not been to the phallic museum as well. Again, why have I not been there? There's a documentary about it, by the way, if anyone's interested in watching it. And it also is quite funny to see the Icelandic culture of that museum and the story about this guy. It's amazing. And I think, well, the story's kind of about how he wants the first human penis in that museum. And it's the story about him trying to get the first human penis in there. It's amazing.
I hope people are watching this on their work network and they're getting all sorts of flags now about conversation. Yeah,
content.
yeah. As I'm thinking about our time in Reykjavik, two things really jump out at me. One, coffee is like a big deal to Icelanders, and like it's really good. And a lot of European countries, they tend to love their espresso, but drip coffee is a thing in Iceland, and they have roasters there on the island, which is awesome. The other thing that I was thinking about is the $20 beers that we had.
Yeah.
Were you thinking about it?
What's that?
You were thinking about it.
Yeah, I was thinking about how my bank account hurt so bad after I left. I think it cannot be understated how, like, even if you have to pay tariffs on bringing a couple extra cases of beer with you, like, it's totally worth it, because it was between $11 and $20 per beer wherever we went. And
I don't even drink beer myself, but I bought you and Robbie around, and I think that was quarter of my cash expenses for the trip. So 25% of expenses around of beer.
But we appreciated that beer.
Out of what I spent, out of pocket on food and stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely pricey. Definitely took a chunk of change out of my bank account to eat there, pay for gas, get drinks. Definitely alcohol at the duty-free shop when you're leaving the airport, because that helped a lot. What was I going to say? The other thing was lamb. So I don't know if anybody you got a survey, like a Gallup poll survey after you got back, but I got one from the airport. And one of the things that they were really asking a lot of questions about was the lamb. Did you eat lamb while you were in Iceland? And there were so many questions about, where did it come from? What did it taste like? Were you in a restaurant? Was someone cooking it for you? What did you think about the taste? What do you think about the brand? And they gave me the brand like from 794.80 or something. But it was definitely good. I ate a lot of lamb, and then I got back and I found tasty good about the food there. That and the bread and the butter and everything else. It was delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's interesting. It was totally local, right? Like that's the cool part about the land there. And like a lot of the stuff is homemade and local and not imported because it costs so much. I think it's kind of like going to Hawaii or something, things take a lot of money to import and stuff like that. So what about you, Raquel? What did you learn?
Well, I was one of the few that showed up right in time for our trip and then left pretty much. I mean, we had that one last night, so I didn't do any extra exploring, which that's something I definitely regret. I didn't plan for that, and I could have, because I was like twiddling my thumbs in Atlanta right before it. So, but no, it was a blast. I have to say that I had lamb over Easter, and I didn't like it. And the lamb that Marina prepared for us was so good. I'm like, oh my gosh, or maybe that's because I had hardly eaten anything like all day. I was Spanish. And It was so good. But I loved unplugging for the most part, even though we had that cell phone access that was everywhere. The campgrounds itself, which we haven't talked much about, was really nice. It very much reminded me of summer camp, but I feel like most people haven't gone to summer camp, so no one knows what I'm talking about. But like communal showers and bathrooms and just little tiny dorm rooms, and very, very intimate. And that was really cool. And I loved all the hiking that we did. It was great.
Yeah, so you can't on the hiking. It seems like you can't really go hiking anywhere in Iceland without seeing something awesome. Like the entire land is bleeding water out of waterfalls, and so you just when we first got to camp, who was the one that went and explored the
Robbie
water?
first.
Yeah. So what happened there, guys?
So we arrived and we're just like leaving the bus, and there was this huge like rock near the camp, right? And we just look around, and some people are at the rock already. And then we're like, so we should go to the rock too. And we head up there a bit, and it's like, oh, we're so high up. And then there was Kevin, who was like enabling the whole thing in a really bad way. And he was like, oh, there is next hill. Let's go on top of the next hill. And there is next hill after that. And there is next hill after that. And so an hour later, we're like literally on top of the mountain. With like a marker and everything. This is the mountain, and this is the top of it, and you're here now.
Robbie, you posted it on your blog, right? There was a lot of that little hike.
Yeah, yeah. I can't really take credit for getting us up there because I was dragging my feet from the beginning. I just like opened a beer, a $10 beer, and I was like, I'm going to finish this beer and enjoy it before I go hiking. So I missed the first train up the hill, and then when the four of us went, or five, I think we picked up more along the way, but
Yeah.
we started heading up the hill, and then we saw the next one and the next one, and I was kind of like, you guys sure? Like it looks pretty high, and I don't know, like it might be cold up there. Kevin was on a mission. He'd just gotten off of I don't think he'd slept in 30 hours. Just gotten off a long haul flight, and
he was blasting the song from the Ragnarok movie from his phone, like like that was worth it.
So he was
very well worth it, though. Glad we made it.
But then, so you were on your way down, and then there was something that just like fell into your laps, right? You're on your way down, and you're coming back, and then you were went into a cave. Oh, I'm trying to cue it up for you guys. You went into a cave, and you found a waterfall in a cave.
That again, I think that might have been a different group than those of us that went up the hill. There was a waterfall cave. That was
you, Alex?
The secret waterfall.
Yeah, we saw it, but not on a different day.
Yeah. I know Ross saw it, but I tried to lead someone else there and just went somewhere else for 20-minute detour. My bad. Don't know what happened. But we somehow find it was me, Alison, Nicholas Stott, and Hardy. So it was, it was the four of us. It was just amazing. We had a few photos there, and that was it. It was really good to find it. It's just those nice little secret tunnel things, and you were saying before, you can't not see something cool. I remember one part of the big hike up to the top. I was taking photos, and I remember Robbie was like, "Oh, have you seen over there?" You just turn around, like, "Holy shit! There's this whole other landscape that's completely looking like this." You think you're looking at two different countries. It's that dramatic in such a short area. It is really amazing. It's so unique there.
Yeah, totally.
So a bit of advice on caves. So there are a lot of caves, there are a lot of waterfalls, and if you're going there are prepared routes for hikes. And even if you know the way you're going, I ask what's on the way or look at the map, because we went on some routes and we totally missed things. So we came from one, we did the loop around, and then I'm looking at the map and it says, "Oh, don't miss the caves over here," and we're like, there were caves.
Well, it's easy to miss stuff because there's so much stuff to look at.
Yeah, so many things and complicated landscape and
so
research in advance.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so Iceland's pretty epic. Oh, and there's it's hard to like if you're on the trails and stuff like that. I think it's hard to get hurt if you prepare correctly. So bring like waterproof everything because there's a lot of water. There's like melting glaciers and melting snow and melting ice. Sometimes there's rain, although we lucked out for the most part. But
Yeah, and change of everything.
Yeah. Bring and quick drying stuff. That was stuff that we saw beforehand. And definitely don't bring shoes that have existing cracks in them because they'll just get bigger.
But yours wasn't existing, right? Didn't you just discover it?
I don't know, man. I still need to talk to that company. I don't even want to call them out yet until they
make it right.
Until they do me right. But,
so I had to pack, as everyone on the trip heard for about 1 million times, I had to pack into like a smaller backpack, not even regular carry-on size. So the thing I needed the most that I didn't have was like extra pair of boots or at least shoes or something. Because once my boots got wet, and they did eventually because we had to like cross rivers on second day. So it was pretty much impossible to dry them out. There just wasn't a good way to dry them out. So at the very least, get like some camp shoes, like some touristy brands have like slippers, which are warm enough to go around, not to go on a hike on, but at least to have a change of shoes while your boots are trying to dry off at least a bit.
Yeah, that
and
makes
it was
sense.
definitely a good idea to wear double socks. That helped a lot to try and avoid some blisters, and then bring an extra pair of socks because we went on one of the longer hikes up part of the, I don't know how to pronounce it. I can't pronounce anything in Iceland, but the Lago trail, crossing
That's
over
a technical
rivers.
name.
Yeah, I think that is a technical name. Just kind of gurgle it out. But having to cross those glacial melt rivers, I mean, it's cold water, but it was definitely worth it. It was worth going across those, but extra socks would have been nice because I stepped in it once and then I just had cold feet. But I chose to not bring waterproof shoes because I thought they were a lot heavier and I wanted the lighter shoes. I just brought some quick drying shoes, like the barefoot type of shoes, and that worked out really well. Definitely would take some Band-Aids. I think some people grab those like ski poles, the walking sticks, which I think it helped out a lot of people. I didn't try it, but it helped out when you're trying to help people across a big river.
There you
like
go.
catapulting yourself. Yeah, so that really helps.
You can tell who hikes a lot because all of those, I had none of those things.
Yes.
Absolutely none of them.
Alex,
Sick, but I mean,
Alex wasn't sure where he was when he was there. He was like,
going on?
where am I? I don't even know.
Also, the basic essential: take water with you. I didn't take water. I took beer one day. That was my water. It has water in it.
So there was definitely a bit of a split between like more hiking crowd and less hiking crowd. And I was from the less hiking crowd side. But so if you're on that side, be like prepared for a learning curve to figure things out on the fly about like amount of walking you're okay to do and crossing rivers, which we totally did wrong, by the way, as I read after the fact, as I Googled when I came home. We did all the things we were not supposed not to, like crossing them barefoot.
Oh, I want to hear about this. Yeah.
Beginner mistakes to avoid crossing rivers.
Don't do what we did.
Yeah, don't cross them barefoot because that like kind of gets dangerous for your feet and stuff.
Yeah, I had a couple cuts on my feet.
Oh man! All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We have a lot of tips in there. We have a lot of things that we told people about. Some of them were just nonsense, like bring beer onto the mountain and drink that instead of water. Although, like that's also a good tip.
Yeah.
Drank out of the streams there, which was really cool to do as an American. I don't get the opportunity to do that ever. But which, I mean, if you wanted to bring beer and leave the water at camp, it makes it easier.
Yeah. Yeah, drinking on streams was kind of fun.
Oh,
Yeah, that was kind of cool. We should have brought like a flask of whiskey and then just had like whiskey and water the
I
entire
thought you
time.
had
We had
a
plenty of
flask
it.
of whiskey with you at all times. Mendel?
I didn't have a flask with me. No, it was mainly a
Bottle.
bottle. But those, yeah, those are harder because you know it adds weight to the pack, right?
But not the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know Alex has to get moving because he has to get to a beer tasting, ironically enough. And Robbie, you're in the middle of Joshua Tree, and I guess like now that you found your shirt, you're probably moving along, and you know, people are probably going to get bored of listening to us talk about how cool Iceland was. So
Iceland
thank
is
you.
okay.
Iceland is
It's okay.
thank you, Rarst. So I just want to thank everybody for joining in the chat, and it's good to see all your faces again. And we'll leave this on YouTube and spread it around Facebook and stuff like that, so that people, if they want some advice from a silly band of characters, they can get it. And then if you're sharing pictures and stuff from Iceland, if you want to share your Instagram handle, feel free to do it right now so that people can follow you and check it out. And if you don't want to share it, it's private and stuff like that. That's cool too. So go for it.
I'll start then.
Yeah.
I have a few there, and I could put some more very soon, but it's at Raquel, RAQUE_L.
Cool.
So Mendel, can the audience see the text chat or not?
They can see the chat on the actual video. I can put them in the show notes as well if you want.
Can I so my photos are from the trip are on Flickr, so I just posted the link in the chat. Like.
Ah, cool. Okay. I'll post that in the chat.
Or rather, let me get the album.
You can post mine too, Mendel. Mine's just my name, Robbie McCullough, at Instagram. On the things.
I'm at alexm.uk because someone called Alex Moss just took the account and never posted. Thanks for that, whoever you are.
And then mine's at Girl Dork Life. That's pretty accurate. So
Nice. And of course, if you check out geekadventures.org on Instagram, you can see posts that have images of things that are natural.
You've been killing it on
Do you
there.
remember Ross Flickr? Flickr.com/photos/albums/album/72157694370604761.
That's well, that was good.
Got it.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and I'm gonna stop the broadcast, but yeah, have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Bye guys.
Guys.
Later.